Who better to lead the charge and open up the gates on this expansion than the Snow Queen and Protector of the Enchanted Forest? Ladies and gentlemen, Elsa has arrived. The former Queen of Arendelle is a powerful but versatile character that can work well with multiple team builds. She blends the magical and non-magical to her advantage. She also has the tools to adapt to most situations. Elsa also introduces a unique status condition, Invulnerable. Whenever damage would have been dealt to Elsa, 0 damage is done and the entire invulnerable status is removed. So, whether Elsa would have taken 1 or 9 damage, it's all cancelled. It's an excellent way to keep her safe, but it comes with a cost that we'll discuss later. For the first time in forever, we're breaking it down and taking a look at someone's character card. Like most characters, Elsa can move 2 spaces, provide a hand size of 2, and hit for 2 damage. Her health stands at a decent 9 points, but she's worth a whopping 7 VP. As was the case in her first movie, she can be an immediate target for her rivals and her enemies. Don't worry though, she's got some tools to help her beat some of that heat. The cold never bothered her anyway, but instead of a giant snow monster, she protects herself with glacial armor. Her first skill grants her invulnerable once you banish 2 magical Elsa cards from the discard pile. The key to remember here is to balance the cards that you eliminate with any needed upgrades for your team. Otherwise, this armor allows Elsa to stay in the middle of the action without becoming a VP liability. It's especially helpful if you can blunt the blows of someone like Gaston, but make sure you don't hinder your ability to upgrade unless it's necessary. Elsa's second skill is her duty to Arendelle. If Elsa is on a VP space, you may reveal the top card in your deck. If it's not a magical card, then you can draw it. Like Maleficent, its use depends on her positioning, but it's a good opportunity to get extra cards. Also, it encourages Elsa to make for the VP spaces. Elsa's upgrade is Freeze Solid. With this, you can immobilize a rival up to 2 spaces away and draw a card. This is a fine upgrade that isn't too powerful by itself, but can be useful in the right circumstances. In particular, when you combine it with ice magic to immobilize 2 members of the rival team at once. Just figure out who the biggest threat is and give them a timeout. We might not want to build a snowman, but with these cards, we can certainly build a deck. So let's go through Elsa's cards and break it down a little further. I'll be going from most common to least common, as some cards appear in the deck multiple times. The first card appears 3 times. Elsa has the support of the Spirits of the Forest. With Bruni, Gale, and Earth Giants, Elsa does 2 damage to an adjacent rival. She moves a rival 1 space, then she deals 1 damage to a non-adjacent rival. This is a versatile card since the last 2 clauses don't have a range. With this card, your opponent is unlikely to stay on the VP spaces. Also, both damage hits could be applied to the same rival if they were adjacent but then pushed away from Elsa. It's not flashy, but it's a very useful card. Her power flurries through the air and to the ground. Ice magic appears twice. Elsa does 2 indirect damage to each adjacent rival. Then, if you discard a card, one of those rivals gains 2 immobilized. If you've got the cards, this has so much utility. It's indirect, it passes out immobilized, and it can hit multiple opponents for good damage. On some characters, this would be one of their best cards. For Elsa, it's just one of her most common ones. The rest of the cards only appear once. Show yourself, step into your power, damage 1 rival within a range of 2 for 1 damage. Then, Elsa gains an additional movement and action phase. It's rare to gain 1 additional phase, but this gives you 2. The versatility of this allows you to easily get to a VP space, or to get in and out of a dangerous situation. Often, multiple movement phases can be underestimated, but it does give Elsa the ability to reset her position. In particular, it can be used to subvert plans when it gives Elsa extra mobility and a slight offensive boost. The rest of these are all movement cards. Everyone wants a pony until they realize it's an immortal water spirit. The Water Knot takes Elsa 4 spaces. Speaking of the ability to reposition yourself, we haven't seen a 4-space card like this since Ariel. Just like that one though, this is fairly straightforward. I typically use it after reviving or to get out of a bad situation. Elsa's true calling is to be the bridge. She moves 2 spaces and then chooses one of the following. Either she heals each character on her team by 1 HP, or removes any number of status effects from each of those characters. If she discards a non-magical card, then she can do both. The utility of this card allows Elsa to counter most negative status effects or to give a boost of health at an important time. It's a good card to save for later in the game. Some might say, you can cross that bridge when you... Nope, not gonna do it. Are you afraid of what you'll risk if you follow her into the unknown? Elsa moves 3 spaces and then can discard a card to draw a card. But if you discard a magical card, you can draw 2 cards instead. This card excels at accelerating your upgrade, or even glacial armor potential. Using this card and discarding a magical card puts you ahead and potentially gets you halfway to an upgrade, all while being net neutral for your hand size. Where the north wind meets the sea, only a Tohalan knows how far this card will go. Elsa moves 3 spaces, and then you reveal cards in your deck until you get to the end or to a magic card. Pick a card that was revealed this way and shuffle the rest back into your deck. Your mileage will vary with this card, but it can obviously help you dig for exactly what you need in a dire situation, or it can just get you 1 card. This is another example of why you should have a grasp of how magical your deck is when using Elsa. So, do Elsa's skills kick some ice, or should we just let it go? Elsa is that rare character that can work really well by herself or work in tandem with teammates, but those game plans can look very different. You can rely on her for consistent damage to one or multiple opponents. You can put her with magical allies and create a team that uses all different gears. You can place her at the VP space, drawing cards and reapplying invulnerable each round. You can even group her with allies that are hard to hit and continuously mix up the available targets for your opponent. Elsa's not a flashy character like Sully or Gaston, but she has incremental benefits that add up over the course of multiple rounds. She has the tools to fit onto multiple teams, but a game where she's truly shining is one where she's continuously applying offensive pressure and keeping her card size manageable while countering the opponent's damage or status effects. When it comes to Elsa's glacial armor, keep in mind that Elsa has 8 magical cards in her deck. This means she can only activate that armor 4 times tops. You have to be judicious on when you activate it, because you won't always get a chance to do so. Also, adding status tokens won't allow you to take more hits. 1 hit is all the armor is good for each time. One thing to keep in mind is that Elsa has the potential for big turns, but they aren't as obvious as they are with Mickey or Maleficent. Elsa can have up to 2 action or movement phases. She can immobilize multiple opponents in the same turn. She can move people onto or off of VP spaces while attacking multiple opponents. It is hard to counter everything that Elsa can do unless you run her out of cards. She can spend the early game slowly building up like a glacier when all of a sudden she unleashes a storm on her foes. At the same time, about half of her cards give you the option to discard additional cards, which can burn through your hand if you aren't careful. Elsa has a few things to worry about with this cast. Specifically, she doesn't do as well against foes that can damage you multiple times. Rivals like Buzz can thaw her ice and hit for significant damage. She also has to be wary of those that can easily remove status effects. The Horned King in particular is a concern, because he can chip away at the glacial armor, or even banish specific cards from Elsa's discard pile, stopping the armor before it goes off in the first place. And of course, Jack remains the king of status effects. While Elsa has the tools to deal with most situations, you have to be more patient with her and pick your battles. Some characters are straightforward, looking at you, Gaston. However, if you're too aggressive with Elsa, the opponent will simply chip through her armor and rack up the points. She has the mobility and the tools to hit and run. Alternatively, with the right team around her, she can be the queen of the hill as she camps the VP spot. Maybe you need her to reposition who's on the VP spaces and remove status effects. Your strategy with her should vary depending on the situation you find yourself in. Elsa's strengths lie in the fact that even though her health is only at 9 points, her glacial armor has the potential to blunt large hits and force your opponent to work around it. Indirect attacks, AoE, repositioning, immobilizing, healing, offense. I don't know that we've seen this much versatility since Ariel. When you manage your cards, statuses, and damage properly, she can quickly change the complexion of the game. That said, she does have significant weaknesses. Your discard pile will be missing some cards by the end of the games with her, and they can interfere with her allies' ability to upgrade. If your opponent has a way to counter her armor, they might be gaining VP rather quickly. If you go in too aggressive and refusing to save your cards, she's going to come across as underwhelming and a potential liability. Elsa might work well with others, but she doesn't work with everyone. It mostly depends on what you're wanting to do. She's one of the rare characters that can choose to ignore upgrades because of her armor, which opens up potential team options. Do you want to focus on keeping Elsa armored, or do you want to upgrade other characters? Do you want to use her magical cards to create a full magic team, or would you rather bridge the gap with other allies? Here's how I would summarize Elsa's relationship with magic. Elsa helps magical allies, but meanwhile, Elsa is helped by non-magical allies. Don't forget that she's worth 7 VP, so it's good to have allies that can either take some of the attention away from Elsa, or can dish out enough punishment to outpace your enemies. Elsa, Aladdin, the Horned King. This almost royal team forces players to divide their attention. Between Glacial Armor, Aladdin's Stealth, and the Cauldronborn, you can dictate the pace of the match. More than half of the cards are magical here, but it doesn't strictly rely on magic. Aladdin's Banishing alongside the Horned King's tools limit options for upgrades. This, combined with 6 potential targets when the Cauldronborn get going, gives your rival even fewer opportunities to deal with Elsa. The main catch of this team is that they're going to be worth a lot of VP, so try to upgrade Aladdin or the Horned King quickly to take advantage with cards or damage. Dr. Facilier, Elsa, and Mickey. Now this is a magic team where each member needs different gears to upgrade, which makes the synergy baked in. The magic of this team is how well they support each other. First, everyone besides Elsa is worth 4 VP, which typically makes her the target. However, if they only focus on Elsa, this allows Mickey to build up enough brooms to do big damage. Really, whichever character they focus on allows the other two to make you pay. But if the enemy tries to divide their damage, then Glacial Armor will ensure that Elsa stays alive longer. All the while, Facilier can debilitate the biggest threats to the team. Mickey's brooms and Facilier's skills will likely go in your favor each turn, which will create a snowball effect. Try to upgrade Mickey quickly so that he can keep your hand size at a decent level. Mickey can be replaced by Maleficent here if you want to focus on keeping a lock on the VP spaces, but you're likely going to sacrifice big one-on-one offense in exchange. So that's our breakdown of Elsa. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to stick around for our next one. Until then, show yourself, step into your power, grow yourself into something new. See you next time.